Did you know that America once nearly drove the bison to extinction? Not because of nature, but because of humans. At that time, the US government provided free bullets to hunters, not to obtain meat, but to destroy the livelihood of native communities. Every bison killed meant another indigenous family falling into poverty and hunger. As a result, by the end of the 19th century, the tens of millions of bison that once thundered across the prairies from Texas to Canada were reduced to nothing but memory. Their skulls were piled into mountains, a cold declaration: this land no longer belongs to the native people. Yet today, surprisingly, bison meat is sold at luxury supermarkets for twice the price of beef. The question is this truly an effort to save nature or just another way to profit from it? Imagine America in the old days. No highways, no industrial farms, only endless prairies and millions of bison moving like a living storm. In 1874, a soldier wrote in his diary, "I stood in the midst of a sea of bison stretching all the way to the horizon." Their roars echoed across the grasslands. But in less than 20 years, that sound had fallen silent. Today, although the bison population in the United States has surpassed 500,000, only about 4, equivalent to just over 20,000, still remain truly wild in reserves such as Yellowstone or the Badlands. The vast majority, around 480,000, are raised on private ranches or on community-managed lands. The question is, who is waiting to take care of this massive bison population? Not the national parks, not the government, but modern farmers. People like Rick Hansen. In this video, we will explore how modern Americans are restoring a species that once stood on the brink of extinction, and why bison meat is considered one of the cleanest, most prized, and most expensive red meats in the United States. Is allowing them to be born, live, and die in harsh weather conditions an act of cruelty? Or is it, in fact, the truest form of respect for nature? When the bison herds were on the verge of vanishing, there were still people who refused to stand by. One of them was Charles Goodnight, a legendary Texas cowboy. He secretly hid a few remaining bison in the woods behind his ranch, despite the risk of being arrested for keeping wild animals near settlements. From the small groups that survived in circuses or scattered wilderness areas, they began to breed them again, sometimes starting with only a few dozen animals. These quiet efforts led to a miraculous revival. Raising bison is unlike raising any other livestock. You cannot confine them. You cannot set a vaccination schedule. You cannot feed them grain or regulate their temperature. Bison reproduce outdoors, even in the middle of snowstorms. A newborn calf must stand, nurse, and run with the herd on its very first day. No barns, no human care. Every summer, the mating season begins. Mature bulls fight for the right to breed. A cow gives birth to only 1 calf per year, weighing about 18 to 25 kilograms, covered with reddish-brown fur to blend into the grasslands. During the first 6 to 8 months of life, the calf nurses from its mother and learns every survival skill, from evading predators to finding the best grazing areas. No veterinarians, no climate control, no growth hormones. A calf that survives in the harshness of nature is living proof of resilience. As Rick Hansen once witnessed, after a snowstorm, a newborn calf was killed by predators. But he did not intervene. For him, if a calf cannot survive its first winter, it is not yet a true bison. Even so, Rick still provides warm water lines for the herd during winter and supplements with hay when necessary. But he never confines them, believing that it is precisely the harsh environment that has allowed bison to endure for millions of years. By the 8th month, calves begin grazing entirely on grass. They learn to live independently, facing real weather, without veterinarians, without special feed. It is this very harshness that makes bison meat unique, tender, lean, natural, and free of drug residues. On ranches like Turner Creek ranches, bison roam freely across hundreds of hectares of grassland. As manager Steve says, "I don't control them, I just observe and step in only when truly necessary." They use drones to monitor from a distance, without whips or whistles. They approach the herd gently with off-road vehicles, not to drive them, but simply to check their health. The bison move only when they feel safe. A bison can live 20-25 years. Cows can reproduce regularly until about age 15. But in meat production, most are slaughtered at 24 to 30 months of age, weighing around 450 to 550 kilograms, yielding about 225 to 295 kilograms of marketable meat. However, the slaughter does not take place in factories. At Wild Idea Buffalo Company in South Dakota, the process is carried out right on the prairie, called field harvest. No conveyor belts, no slaughterhouses, no factories. Each animal is carefully selected and harvested in a familiar, quiet environment, avoiding stress and preserving the flavor and texture of the meat. Immediately afterward, a skilled team processes, chills, and distributes the meat the very same day. Healthy individuals with strong genetics are kept for breeding. Mature bulls can weigh up to 1 ton, but they only participate in mating during the season. The rest of the time, they live separately to avoid conflict. Each year, the United States slaughters about 75,000, 85,000 bison, equivalent to around 3 million kilograms of meat. Compared to industrial beef, this is a very small amount, but bison holds a premium position. Ground meat sells for $8.12 per pound, while prime cuts like ribeye or sirloin can reach up to $20 per pound. Many high-end restaurants in Denver, Austin, and New York serve bison steak as a signature dish, featuring natural flavor, leanness, and reflecting a trend toward responsible eating. Is a 20-year steak worth it if it comes from an animal that was never confined? For many Americans, this is not just a matter of taste. It is a statement about health, ethics, and the environment. Today, most bison in the United States are raised for meat. A smaller portion still live wild in parks like Yellowstone, where more than 5,000 purebred bison continue to live just as their ancestors did thousands of years ago. At the CSKT Reserve in Montana, managed by the Salish Kootenai tribe, there are about 350 animals, preserving both the species and cultural heritage. At Fermilab in Illinois and Camp Pendleton in California, small herds are maintained to protect ecosystems, not for profit. Bison are not just food. They are symbols of memory, of nature, and of what remains of the old America. Once on the brink of extinction, bison have now become a symbol of recovery. But is it true recovery or merely a new form of luxury consumption? If you choose bison meat today, what are you supporting? A clean, humane, and sustainable model of farming, or just another kind of elite consumption? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to Farm to Factory for more incredible journeys. From pasture to plate, from technology to the philosophy behind every cut of meat.